Here are some things that are likely to happen that you should be prepared for right now if the US decides to strike Iran, which is looking more and more likely. And of course, the worst case scenario is that Iran closes the Strait of Hormuz, which would have cascading economic impacts felt throughout the world. But there are some things here stateside that I'd be more concerned about in the immediacy of an attack. Now, the first thing you should be prepared for happening here stateside would be a domestic attack. Now, that can come in two different forms. One could be a sleeper cell oriented attack that's actually kinetic here on American soil. And this is made possible thanks to the porous and unsecured borders, both in the south and the north, where an unknown amount of KSTs, or known or suspected terrorists, have crossed into our nation over the last few years. They're already organized, they're already embedded, and they're ready to activate at a moment's notice. So that is something that is definitely possible. And something else we have actual pretext for is a cyber attack. Now, we just recently had a cyber attack in Pennsylvania brought on by Iran against a water treatment facility where they tampered with one of the controllers because it was made in Israel. And so they've shown that they can do this and affect our infrastructure here stateside, and they're more than willing to if they are under attack, I would assume. So these are things that you should definitely be prepared for and anticipate. Another thing you should be ready for is the possibility of a global oil supply crash. And now we can look back in history for this one to kind of see how things work whenever there is a war or some sort of an attack in the Middle East. And back in the Gulf War of 1990, oil prices went from $21 a barrel all the way to a peak of $46 a barrel. So oil could double in price overnight if we suddenly strike Iran. You should definitely be ready for that when it comes to gas prices and the prices of everything that would be affected by that sudden rise in oil cost. Now, another event you should be prepared for is the possibility of global market panic. When Iraq invaded Kuwait back in the Gulf War, we actually had the S&P 500 fall 18% immediately. So there's a good chance that a lot of wealth will suddenly disappear overnight if we actually strike Iran. So that's something you should be definitely prepared for and thinking about when it comes to your financial situation. Another big problem that would only get worse if we were to attack Iran right now, because it has not been resolved yet, is the global food shortage situation, especially regarding shipping in the Red Sea. The Houthis attacking cargo ships there have already spiked the cost of shipping and transport, as well as the price of food, because of those additional costs. So that will only compound to get worse, which means your ability to store food or have additional food on hand will be directly affected. Now, here's one you should be prepared for anyway based on the current climate around the world, but the possibility of a military draft is always there. And one thing you have to keep in mind is that the numbers have actually improved since Trump took office. However, in 2022 and 2023, the recruitment goals were missed by about 25%, or 15,000 troops per year. So we found ourselves in a war over in the Middle East once again, and then anything else popped off around the world, including from other adversaries. There's a good possibility of a military draft suddenly being instituted. So you should definitely mentally prepare for that. So these are the things I would be mentally and physically preparing for right now, and I would expect them to occur in the immediacy of an attack on Iran by the US. And this is becoming more and more likely based on the buildup we're seeing at Diego Garcia, as well as in other parts of the region. So don't panic if you're not ready for this. Just be aware of it so that way you're not surprised or caught off guard if it happens. Now, of course, if you want to support the channel, you can go to magicprepper.com, where you'll find a lot of different information, including how to access a workshop I just recently put out about how to earn additional income as a content creator in the preparedness space. So make sure you check that out. I'll also have links in the description as well as in the pinned comment if you're interested in that. I think it's very valuable, and I think it could definitely help you out. And of course, if you have any questions for me or need anything else from me at all, email me at magicprepper@gmail.com or leave a comment below, and I'll do the best I can to get back to you. Thanks for your support, and I'll see you next time. I'm just kidding. That's going to be it for Magic Prepper.